You don't need a degree in education or a Pinterest-perfect craft room to write and create a homeschool co-op class. I've taught a few homeschool co-op classes, and I always prefer to write my own. Then I can teach what I want and create a class that is truly fun and enrichment. Even if it feels like you're barely keeping up with your own homeschool, and let's not mention the laundry, you can still create, write, and teach a homeschool co-op class in a few easy steps. Hello, Rebel Moms, and welcome to the Life Unboxed podcast. I am Jodie the mom, wife, homeschool mom of 6, and successful mom entrepreneur. And I am bringing you information and inspiration on raising kids, running a business, and keeping your sanity. You can find the episode show notes, Rebel Mom checklist to help you homeschool confidently, tools to make your work from home life easier, and more information at lifeunboxed.blog. Now let's get into the show. Homeschool co-ops are powerful because they bring families together. They give kids opportunities we can't always provide on our own, and they give moms a chance to share their gifts, talents, and sometimes just their willingness to wrangle a group of kids. If you've ever thought, I don't know what I could teach, or what if my class is a disaster, take a deep breath. This guide will show you how to break it down into bite-sized steps. You'll walk away with a clear plan, practical tips, and the confidence to say, yes, I can teach that. You can easily create a homeschool co-op class, so let's get started. Step 1, teach a homeschool co-op class you will enjoy. My first rule is to teach something you enjoy. Homeschool co-op is all about connection, enrichment, and fun. If you're going to be enthusiastic about a topic, then it needs to be something you will enjoy learning along the way. You don't need to be an expert. Just know a little more about the subject than your kids do. And they are kids, so you can be pretty confident that you already know more about the topic. If you love art, share it, even if you don't think you are an artist. If science experiments thrill you, then teach them. If you can bring history to life, then share it. The very first homeschool class I taught was an art class to elementary students. Our co-op sent out an email asking for art teachers, and I thought, I could do that. I did use an art curriculum, but then I decided to write my own. That's how Discover the Greatest Artists came about. I wanted a homeschool co-op curriculum that gave me everything: class format, weekly outline, art projects. So I wrote it all for myself. You don't have to love a topic, and you aren't required to be an expert. Just enjoy what you are teaching and learn as you go. Step 2, outline your homeschool co-op class. Create an outline for the class. You will feel more confident teaching it if you know what direction you're heading in and what you're teaching. That always helps. So a simple outline listing the topics you will cover each week will give you the confidence you need to teach well. Our homeschool co-op is 9 weeks, and I create a list of each week, and then I add the topics I want to cover. So as you start to outline the class, make sure the flow of topics makes sense. For example, if you're teaching a history class, put the events in chronological order. For the art class I teach, I put the artist in chronological order. This helps the kids to see the progression of art and how it has changed over time. I recently wrote a class called Book Anatomy, and that's on how to write, edit, and self-publish a book. And I followed the writing process for this class. So each class built on the things learned from the previous class. Outline your class in a way that makes sense for presenting the information. Step 3, create a homeschool co-op class format. This is a secret sauce for all of my homeschool co-op classes. I create a format that I can use for each class, and then I just need to plug in the information for that week. You don't need to come up with something new each week. It's easy to decide on a format and then just stick to it. So here's a simple format that I like to use, and it can be applied to just about any class. So to open, we review from the previous lessons. I read a story about the artist. We work on the lap book activities for that week. We do an art project, and then we clean up. It's that simple. Create a format, plug in the topic for the week, and teach away. Step 4, write it. If you aren't using a homeschool co-op curriculum, then you need to write out your classes. Yes, it is important to have notes, create handouts, because you need to remember everything you want to teach. Flying by the seat of your pants will make you feel unprepared. The information you deliver will feel chaotic, and it is easy to go off track. If you want to teach a good homeschool co-op class that students will remember, then write it all down. This will also help you decide, this will help you if you decide to teach it again. It is ready for you to pick up and just teach it. So I have all of my notes from my art classes so I can teach with very little preparation. Well, except for all the things that need to be cut out. So start with week 1 and write that lesson. I also put times on my notes. So when I teach, I have a guide on where I need to be at a certain point in the class. Now, these times aren't perfect, but at least they give me an idea of how much material I have to teach. For me, one full page of notes is usually about 10 minutes of teaching, but this is an approximation. I've taught in a number of different settings, so after many years, I have a pretty good idea of how much information I need. But it may be different from you, so practice teaching your notes to get an idea of how many pages you need to fill the time for your homeschool co-op class. And step 5, teach it and make adjustments. The best laid plans may need a few adjustments, but the good news is they should only be minor. You don't really know how a class is going to go until you meet the kids. Once you get into the classroom, you will see where they are at and their skill level. For example, you may need to cut out more things because your kids can't do it fast enough. Or you may need to add conversation questions at the beginning of each class because you have a class full of shy students. So I always try to focus on keeping the class interactive. No one wants a teacher that drones on like Charlie Brown's. Ask questions that kids can answer. Ask questions that are challenging, but keep the kids engaged on the topic. So you start teaching and then make adjustments as needed. Writing a homeschool co-op class isn't about perfection. It is about teaching something that you enjoy and you want to share. You don't need credentials, endless hours, or a teaching license. What you need is excitement about your topic, a plan to teach it, and a willingness to show up. That's it. You can teach a homeschool co-op class. Thanks for listening. Be sure to check out lifeunboxed.blog and download your Rebel Moms checklist. Happy homeschooling and working from home, and I will see you next time.